Welcome to Flourish, the podcast for faith-driven mompreneurs who are ready to release overwhelm, create sustainable, healthy habits, and build purpose-driven businesses aligned with their faith, family, and vision. I'm Stephanie Book, a transformational mindset, wellness, and business coach. I'm here to equip you with the tools, mindset shifts, and encouragement to help you flourish. If you're ready to grow a thriving life and business while staying aligned with your faith, purpose, and priorities, you're in the right place. You are worthy and capable of living a full and flourishing life. Success isn't just possible, it's meant for you. Let's dive in. Hey there, and welcome to the Flourish podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I'm so glad that you are here. I just am excited to have you here. We made it. We're in Christmas week, and if you are ready for the holidays to be done, you're almost there. And if you're excited, if you love this time of year, you've got a couple more weeks to relish in it until it's gone. And I know for some of you, this time of year is wonderful. You're excited. You can't wait for all of the different festivities, and you just love everything about Christmas. And some of you, this is a really hard time of year. Maybe there's loss of loved ones, or your first Christmas maybe without someone that you really care about, or your kids are not home and they're not coming home. That's got to be hard. Or the different things that just ebb and flow in our lives. And so whether you're approaching this week with excitement and full of people around you and traditions, or you are finding yourself just wishing that it was over, I do hope that today's episode will be an encouragement to you, and that will just be a little bit fun. I really was trying to decide what I wanted to share today, and I kept going back and forth because I feel like sometimes I'm very serious. I'm always giving you those rhythms and the systems, but I like to have fun too. And I thought, let's just have a little conversation, a little fireside chat. I don't have my coffee's cold, so otherwise I would hold my cute little mug. See, isn't it cute? I would hold that here, but it's cold and I don't want to drink that anymore. So I'll pop some ice in it, make it a nice coffee here after I'm done. But I just was really wanting just to have a little time together, as if we were just together having some coffee or hot cocoa, sharing some time together. And I thought about even going in front of my tree. I know I've done that before, but let's face it, everything is set up in here and it just works better. So I'm just going to pick the easy route because, life can be busy sometimes. But I thought, what would be a fun thing to talk about? I want to just take in consideration that this time of the year is crazy busy. And so even you showing up to listen, I commend you for that. And I thank you, each one of you that continues to listen in. And I do hope that the things that I normally share are helpful to you, and they encourage you and they inspire you to grow and be connected more to God. And that's why I show up every day. I absolutely love, or every week, I love doing this. And there'll be days where maybe, I'll be honest, I don't know what to say, or I don't want to hit record, but I'm always so glad I do. And when I go back and I edit and I listen, I'm always amazed at what words that God has used to hopefully encourage you. And I listen to it and I'm thinking, oh, I don't even remember saying that. And I know that that's because God has equipped me and He has given me the words to say a lot of the times. Then I'm so grateful for that. And so I was thinking about what could we talk about? And I was thinking about one of the things is traditions. I think that sometimes traditions are fun and sometimes they can put a lot of pressure. So I'm recording this podcast before Christmas week, getting ready. And by the day that this episode is going, I would have just returned the day before from a cruise. So yes, I feel like I have no business talking about busyness and chaos after being gone for a week. But I know that this is something I was so looking forward to because we got to see my son who performs on the ship. And so my husband, daughter, and I got to travel there and go to a couple of different places and see my son Ryan. And so I'm coming back. I know I'll be coming back to this when this episode airs, just full of just gratitude and thankfulness that I get to spend that time with my family right before Christmas. And so I know that I'm coming back from that. But some different traditions have changed because, my son, he works on a ship right now, and he's been a performer. So he is, singing and dancing at other places that is not always at home. And my daughter is no longer living at home. She's in her own apartment. And so we're in that stage of and if you've listened to me before, we're in that empty nest. I don't like that word because I feel like my nest is still very full, but it's just changed and shifted. And so the holidays have been different. The traditions are different. And one of the things that I always like to do is get us matching pajamas. Now, this was something, I know matching pajamas has been a thing, but when growing up, when one of the only things that we would be able to open up on Christmas Eve was a box under the tree, and it was always pajamas. And so I kind of carried that on with my kids, and they always know that they would open up their pajamas the night before, even though I'd be like, I don't know what it is, the silly little things that parents do to build that excitement. But then eventually at some point I found some black and red checked a while ago, and we all matched, and I had a lot of fun. It's actually one of my most favorite pictures that we have, and I had bought us some cool little Coca-Cola bottles. I don't drink a lot of Coca-Cola, like regular Coca-Cola, but it was, I think at Aldi or something. And so I had this cute little picture of us wearing these red and black checked with holding our little Coke bottles in front of the tree. And it was such a fun day. And that was kind of like, oh, we should always coordinate. So I've always tried to work on having our pajamas coordinate ever since that day. And sometimes that's really difficult this year, especially. And again, I am recording this before this is airing, so I hope that I find pajamas, but at this point I couldn't find anything out shopping that was matching yet, but who knows? I still have some time to go, but I want to make sure that's done here in a few weeks before I leave. And so it's becoming a little bit challenging, and I also need to keep in consideration that my son is on a ship and he doesn't need warm fuzzy pajamas. So you just keeping all those things in mind, what would be the best. And honestly, we haven't really been able to always get that picture of all of us in those pajamas because our life is different, but that's okay. I think that that's a reality of that. Traditions can change. Traditions can ebb and flow with your life, and they don't have to always be exactly the same to have some meaning to it. And I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to have everything fit specifically in a certain way, especially when it comes to traditions. But sometimes those traditions need to shift for the season, and that's what I'm learning. It's something that not always fun to learn, but we can create new traditions. And just because there's something that we've done before that worked well, we need to adapt and change the things that will work now. And who knows, my kids decide to be married and have children of their own, then maybe they will carry on a similar tradition with their kids. And so that kind of ebbs and flows with time. And so I thought, what are some other traditions that everybody has, that things that make your holidays fun, not traditions that wear you down, but ones that are fun. I think that I know the pajamas is always something that I remember doing, and it always held dear to me. Different things, like we would wake up in the morning, and ever since my kids were little, we wouldn't let them into the family room where we had the gifts and things all laid out, and they would wait, and then they would come out, and we would have the music on and the fire on, and now we have that. We did have them when they were younger, but we would have the music on, and I would get the monkey bread into the oven, and we'd have the hot chocolate ready to go. And we had all these things so that it was a magical time for them as they woke up and they get to see what was under the tree. And then we would, take that in and then go get our hot chocolate or our coffee and then sit down. And then we would always read the Christmas story. And I have a book that was given to my kids a long time ago, and it's just Luke chapter 2, but it's written and it has some pictures. And one of the episodes I will try to remember, if I remember to tag it in the show notes. I actually read from that book by my tree one year and for my Christmas episode. But I would always read that book. What we would take turns of whoever would read that, and then we would step in and go on with our gift opening and things like that. And we would pause to get some breakfast casserole, and then we'd get back to working. And of course, when they were little, we didn't have as much pause, and it went really a lot faster than it does now. But those are things that I hold dear, and so. Those are traditions that we have had in our family that now are different, but that's okay. I think I used to hold on to those traditions and try to make things work. And when my son was traveling, we had some Christmases that we would do in January because he was finally home from a contract, and we would have that. And so we would try to recreate it, but it was still different. And that's when I kind of learned that, we need to start making those new traditions. And doesn't mean that the old ones are gone forever, or it doesn't mean that the new ones aren't going to be as good. They just get to shift and change. But I would love to know if you have some traditions. Reply to the episode. It would be fun to hear what traditions that you hold onto, things that make you laugh, things that that just make your holiday something that is special with you or your family. Another thing that I really is really important to me, and I really love at this time of year, is Christmas movies. I'm not so much, I'll watch some of the Hallmarky movies, but they're not my favorite. But I just love some of the ones that just make me laugh. The situations where you watch chaos in families and how they navigate through all of it. The classic different ones, like I've always loved It's a Wonderful Life and Miracle on 34th Street, like the original one. The ones that no, It's a Wonderful Life was always a tradition growing up where we would get together with a family. We'd always watch it on Thanksgiving, and we would we would make a big spectacle about watching that. And so it's changed. That's a tradition that shifted and changed as I grew up, and my family doesn't care about that. They've watched it, but they don't care about that movie. But I have such strong memories from around that. And so it's kind of fun to think back on those memories, but then also look at the things that that we get to celebrate. We get to do, like watching Elf. It's like one of my favorite Christmas movies. It's just silly and lighthearted and fun, and it's one of my favorites to watch. And so I can quote all kinds of lines from that, and I think that's good. So I think it's just fun to look at those things and maybe in the hustle and bustle and the craziness, looking for those things that maybe earmark your holidays, something special. So whatever those things are for you, those are things that, first of all, I would write them down, record them somewhere, that different things that have meant something to you. If you're in the stage like I am where the kids are gone, what are some new traditions or new things that you can start, ways that you can celebrate the holiday that might be different than they were before, but then instead of longing for things the way that they used to be, but what can you create now to make it a great holiday now? If you are way beyond and you now have grandkids, what traditions can you start with them? What things can you do to bring excitement and fun into their lives? So there's different stages. If you have little kids now and you're just kind of starting your family, what are things that you did, that you or your spouse did, that you can move into your traditions? Or what new traditions can you create? And maybe you didn't have anything. Maybe the holidays were really rough, but you don't have to define them as being rough because they were rough for you. What can you shift and change to make them something fun? Maybe you don't enjoy the holiday well, but maybe there's something you can do for another family or someone else out there. Or maybe you are alone and then there's somebody else alone, and say, hey, let's not do this together. Let's combine our lonely feeling into something better, and do something together, or get together for dessert later in the afternoon. So there's things that you can do. We have choices. I think that it's very easy to sit in the ways that things used to be, in the tradition and our expectations. And sometimes we can, if we release those and really shift our perspective a little bit, we could actually create something that could even be better if we're not so connected to what has to be or what used to be, but what could be. Okay, enough about traditions. I hope that this episode has been fun for you, just hearing just a little bit more about me and some of the traditions and the things that were fun for me, that's been great for my family, and how I'm shifting and looking at things a little bit differently as I continue to grow older and watch my kids grow, and just the possibilities of what can happen. I thought another area that I absolutely love, and I'm sharing just a little bit about me because sometimes maybe you need to know a little bit more about me. And I always say this, but if you have any responses, or if you want to share anything about you or something that stirred you on from what I shared, I would love to hear it. So please, check all my information in the show notes, and, send me an email, send me a DM, and just tell me something, maybe your tradition. I would love to hear that. But another area that's very important to me is the music. And people kind of have a love-hate relationship. Either they love Christmas music or they dislike it. Growing up, I didn't grow up in a church. I mean, I grew up having some church in my life, but I didn't grow up with that. So I grew up with all of the traditional Christmas carols and songs. And so I really like the whole scope of Christmas music. Now, there's some that I don't really like, but for the most part, I remember thinking if I ever was to, when I was younger, I would think I would always want to do a duet album with somebody and sing. I love to sing. It's definitely been something that's been part of my life for a really long time. And I thought if I ever did any type of recording of an album, it would have been a Christmas music because I've always just loved that. I love the harmonies. I love just the feel of Christmas. And it just really has been one of my most favorite times of the year. People, that song is most wonderful time of the year. Some of it, I agree. I just love Christmas time. And the music has been a big part of it, but there's really good words in a lot of the songs, and sometimes they're not so great. but even just the way music can bring out so much in your days and in your life. And obviously the songs that are talking about the reason for the season, that are talking about Christ and Christ coming, and all the gifts that he has given us because he sent his son. That is obviously why we're here for Christmas. And that's the important reason. That's the reason, right, for the season. But I still think that it is okay to enjoy some of that other Christmas music. And for me, it's a lot of the songs, maybe not talking specifically about God, but it brings me joy. It makes me excited to be able to think about, chestnuts roasting on the open fire. I don't have an open fire and I don't have chestnuts, but I can imagine it. And you've been by a fire before, whether you're outside or you've been in camping or someone has a wood stove or something, and that you can't beat that feeling of the crackling of the fire, and if you had chestnuts, what that would sound like, what would that smell like? And so I like to be in, like, it kind of invites me into that coziness, into that season. So I love Christmas music because of that. And I mean, all music is really, it's a big part of my life. And it really is a time where a lot of times I might not have the words to say, but I'll hear a song and it will bring me right back to what God has to say or what he wants to communicate to me, just because of the way that the words are and the rhythm and the musicality of all of it, and just how the chords come together and just the feelings that it creates. I think music is a very, very powerful part of the way that we can connect to God and really just connect to that calm and the peace that is within us. I mean, obviously there's music that is much more rigid and maybe, could be even harmful with the messages that they say. And I don't spend a lot of time listening to those songs, but emotion is definitely connected to music. The feelings an artist is sharing so much of their heart and their soul in that. And so I've always loved music, and Christmas music is one of my favorites. And so I'm not one of those that listens to it, all of the time. And I don't really do a lot before Thanksgiving. I kind of add it in afterward. And then when it's done, I'm ready to move on. But, yeah, that's just something that I really enjoy. I'd love to know if you have a favorite Christmas song. I don't think I have a favorite one, but specifically nothing's coming to my mind, but I do enjoy that. And I think O Come, Emmanuel has been one of my favorites, and it's never one that's people typically turn to. But when I was in high school, our choir sang that song, and it's probably why it's such a beautiful memory for me. We had a good size auditorium. I went to a pretty good size school, and choir was probably my favorite. My teacher, Mr. Graber, was an amazing teacher, and really you learned how to sing correctly, and you learned the appreciation for music. And he had us sing that song, O Come, Emmanuel, and he had us circle around. So there was like a section of the auditorium where there was a big seats, and then there was like a space, and then there was like the balcony part. So he had us circle around from the stage all the way around the balcony, in front of the balcony seating, and then around, and then he had us sing this in the whatever 6-part 8-part harmony, whatever it was. I don't remember. I was first soprano, I just remember that, but it just was beautiful. Listening to the voices coming from across like the auditorium and the beauty of the words and what that we were singing to Jesus, though it wasn't a Christian school, but it was a Christmas song, which is another thing that's really cool. Is a lot of times you can get a little more Jesus in your schools at that time of year when you have a teacher that picks music that is so beautiful. And so we got to sing that inside that auditorium. And I think ever since then, that song has been my favorite. And I think it's because, not only are the words amazing, but it also was a beautiful memory that I have. And then the harmony, the music that song provided with the voices was just so touching. And even as a young high schooler, I appreciated it so much. And so it's always been one that I have held dear to my heart. And I think that just shows again how much music can be an impact in our life and in this week. So I encourage you, maybe if you don't love Christmas music, maybe find at least one that might help direct you back to God, or one that will just help you be one that you would be imagining yourself sitting by a fire, listening to the crackling of there and warming yourself there and just maybe reflecting in gratitude of the things that God has done for you. Maybe that would help you if you're looking at music, and you don't have to like all the Christmas songs, because like I said, I don't like them all either. but think about those ways that you could bring in the Christmas music this week to help you connect to all the goodness of God and what He has done for you, in you, and through you. Well, I'm not really one that tells really funny stories. I'm not the best storyteller, and I wanted to try to make this fun and lighthearted, and I keep pulling it into being a little bit more subdued and reflective because I think that's just who I am, and that's okay. There's plenty of podcasts out there that will make you laugh, but I hope that it's at least given you some time to jog your memory and maybe think about some of those traditions, maybe some songs that have meant a lot to you, some movies that you really enjoy, those little jokes that bring in with your family as you recite lines from different movies or different traditions or things that you can say. Those are the things that make the holiday make it so fun to walk through. I think the more that we let go of the expectations of what we think it should be and more into what it could be, it kind of shifts our perspective. It opens it up for more, just more life, more excitement, more fun into it. Because I think sometimes, I know for me, I'll put those expectations of everything being perfect or right. And sometimes when you put those up so high, we get blinded by the things that are all around us. And I remember feeling super overwhelmed when it came to Christmas time. My kids were younger. We were doing all kinds of activities. The last couple of weeks is just, it's chaos, right? I always felt like we didn't have enough time to do all the Christmas things we wanted to do because they get out of school. Maybe this right here where this episode is dropping, maybe they'd be Monday, Tuesday at school, and then they're done, or maybe they have that off. I don't know, but I felt like there were so many demands, and a lot of times those gifts were being wrapped up until midnight, and that I had my own tradition or my own expectations that I put on myself. So we would be wrapping presents last minute, and then we would clean it up, and then I wanted it to look perfect, and so then I would be vacuuming at midnight trying to make sure it looked all nice and pretty. And I look back now and think how much of that didn't matter, but at the time I thought it did. I wanted it to be magical, but my kids did not care whether or not the floor was vacuumed because I wrapped on the floor. But I think that sometimes I was trying to measure myself up to a specific expectation, and then it made it difficult probably for everybody around me because of those expectations that I was putting on myself. No one else was putting it there, but it was me doing that. And so I want to encourage you as you are in this week that you may need to let go of some of those expectations, and it's okay to do so. If you're feeling behind, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling oh my goodness, you just feel the weight of the week, I would just encourage you to sit back and just decide, what's most important, what needs to be done. and just focus on the most important. Nothing has to be perfect. And I guarantee you, like, I don't remember if you might remember, you remember the highs and you remember maybe some lows of your holidays as a kid, but for the most part, you just remember it being fun and magical, right? Christmas was a great time. And if it wasn't a great time for you, I'm sorry. I hope that shifting your perspective or looking at how you could serve someone else or help them have a better Christmas might help. It won't take away the pain or the hurt you might have had in a horrible Christmas, but hopefully it would help you stepping out of yourself and helping bless somebody else with that. But I just encourage you, wherever you're at in your thought of Christmas and in this week, I just pray that you would find that time just to sit back and look to make sure that what you're active in are ways that are necessary. And if all of the things aren't done, if all the T's are not crossed and all the I's are not dotted, it's okay that you are showing up, that you're present with those you care about, and that's really all that matters. I know it's hard to do that because I'm one of those perfectionists, right? I want everything to be just so, and then I will measure myself up against what is my expectations that I've created for myself. But I want to encourage you, and I give you permission to let go of the expectations that you're putting on yourself. Stop and breathe and just step into this season. Enjoy this week. Look for the ways to be grateful for what you have. And if there's a lot of things that aren't going to get done, just release it. Know that none of that really matters, but the time that you are connecting with your family, the times that you're reaching out to the loved ones or the people that are around you, that's what's most important. And that's what's going to be remembered, not whether or not your floor is vacuumed, or all of the cards were addressed right before Christmas, or every single gift was wrapped perfectly, or the dinner turned out how you want it to or not. I'm speaking to myself there, because I know that the expectations I'll put on myself can ruin or take me away from the connection of what it's all about. And I talked about, Jesus is the reason for the season, right? And that's true. And so above anything that you're doing, I encourage you to find some space, some time to invite him in. Look for the goodness, the greatness that God has given you, and that it could be your focus. And all of those things will come and they will go. But what matters most is Jesus, and that he sent his son for you, and that we get to celebrate the goodness of God and to celebrate all that he has provided for us. And that's why we're here. So whether or not all of the things are done, my friend, just release it and enjoy this week. So friends, I appreciate you and thank you for listening. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. It was a lot of me just talking about random things, but I do hope that you found some nuggets of takeaways in that, in my talk. And I do encourage you to look for those traditions, look for the ways that you could be grateful for what has happened, and do need to shift and change some things that you're walking through now as you're heading. Are you into a new season that needs to be maybe recharged or refreshed, or even taken a complete 180 into a different direction? You know where you're at and where your heart is. But most of all, I want you to be encouraged, and I hope that you find that this episode brought you a little bit of chuckle, a little bit of fun, a little bit of memory lane, and that you can approach this week with a calm and a sense of excitement of what you can create. So, well, friends, I just want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week for our last episode of 2025. Take care. Thank you for joining me on Flourish. I hope today's episode left you feeling inspired and equipped to take your next step with confidence. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who needs this encouragement. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at steph.book and join our Facebook community of faith-driven women who are ready to flourish. Make sure to check out the show notes for all the ways we can connect and continue this journey of growth together. My friends, remember, you are worthy and capable of living a full and flourishing life. Success isn't just possible, it's meant for you. Take care.